going to paint this picture in Corel Painter Essentials 6. Corel Painter Essentials 6 has just come out, I believe. I noticed it this week. I was intrigued just because of the price. It's only £35 UK pound, as opposed to £350 for the full Corel Painter version. So I thought, let's give it a go. So I know normally when I do a test or a tryout, I should say, on a piece of software, I do a sketch. But hey, this is Corel Painter, so I thought I would do a full-blown painting. I downloaded the software. You have to. It appears to be the full version. There's nothing trimmed back. I was able to save, export, do everything, and I opened it up, and straight off the bat, I produced this painting. I didn't do any testing or anything. I just sort of went straight into the watercolor, into the oil painting brushes and the blending brushes, and I started painting. So there was no testing, no practice go. This is what I produced straight out of the box. So I have to say, it is very intuitive. It's easy to use. One of the most easiest pieces of software I've come across on a PC. Having said that, after I'd finished this painting, I did try one or two of the other brushes. This is obviously using the oil painting brushes. I tried the Watercolor Tools, and I have to say I was really disappointed. I can't imagine anybody being able to produce a decent watercolor with them. But having said that, the oil brushes are a totally different ball game. I really like these. It is a really trimmed down piece of software, I have to say. I think you're limited to 20 layers, I believe. I might be wrong there. But although there are lots and lots of brushes to choose from, you can't adjust them in any way other than change their opacity and the size. There's none of the sort of features that you get in Art Rage, or even some of Critter and the free software have got way more features for changing brush effects or the properties of a brush. So you are limited to the brushes that come with the software. I have to say, this is not a review, by the way. This is it's just a tryout, a playthrough, if you like. I'm not reviewing the software. I'm not going to make any judgments on that, other than, hey, I've done a painting straight out of the box, if you like, and I just wanted to share that with you to show you what you can do straight off. So it's cheap. It is very, very basic, but you can do some cool stuff. I think this is a reasonable looking oil painting when it's finished. So what can I say about it? I love the colour picker or the colour mixer palette that you have on the right hand side, where I did have a little play around with that, and you can mix colours on it, although for this painting I just sort of stayed around the orange and sort of brown sort of colours that are already mixed there, and the purples, and I stayed within that really. It is a really fast application. I created a file that was 420mm by 297, which is an A2 size sheet, so that's like a double letter size, which would be, a reasonable size printout, and it was at 300 dpi, and I have to say the brushes performed flawlessly. There was no lag at all. It felt really, really natural. So there's that. It is a very fast app, and you can produce high-res images, which is cool. So that side of it was excellent, and the brushes were just you could resize the brushes really fast. You could resize the image. I did. There was. I noticed with the brushes. I used, by the way, for this painting, I used 4 brushes. If you're interested, I used the wet oily blender brush, and when I come to painting the people in it, I did them completely with the wet oily blender and the pointed stump to sort of blend out the colours. And the other 2 brushes weren't really brushes. There was a loaded palette knife and a palette knife. So the loaded palette knife has got paint. It will put paint onto the canvas, but the palette knife won't. I thought there was 2 bugs, or one was definitely a bug. The other one might be a feature. One of the bugs was when I used the wet oily blender, every now and again, as I touched the canvas, a little spot of paint would appear about 25mm or 1 inch above where the brush actually was, and that happened a lot. So I had to keep erasing those or pressing the back key to remove them. So that was one thing. And the other was I did create quite a few layers in this. And if I use the pointed stump to blend the edges, where it came across the transparent of the alpha, in other words, say for example I'm painting these people in now, if I tried to use the stump to blend the edges, where there was no paint, it would add white paint, which actually eventually I started to use that to my advantage to add highlights. On the painting here, I decided that the whole thing was looking a bit flat and bland, and it needed a boost of colour, so I created a new layer. I set the blend mode to multiply, so you have got blending modes for your layers, and I whacked in some stronger colour to lift that, because I was just thinking it was looking really, really insipid. You can select items, resize them, flip them, and I couldn't find any way to slightly adjust the rotation of an object at all. So if I needed to rotate it, I pretty much had to repaint it. So I thought that was something that I don't use a lot, but I do use it, and I thought that was a sort of fairly standard thing, and that just wasn't there at all. I did find the painting experience really pleasing, and I enjoyed using it. I don't think I would have had that same enjoyment if I was trying the watercolour. I think I would have got frustrated. There is another feature as well where you can just take a photo and get the app to paint it for you. And I did run that because I was intrigued to see what would happen. And to me, it was just a gimmick. I suppose if you was commissioning something and it was a sort of commercial product that you was painting or something, and time was of essence and you was thinking about the profit margin, you could run that sort of filter. I suppose it's a filter that sort of produces the painting, because you can stop it any way you like through the process as it produces this painting, and then finish it by hand. So you could have used it to give you sort of an head start, I suppose, but I just felt it was a little bit gimmicky and I would never use that. So here I'm now going in using the wet oily blender to add colour to these people over the grey that I'd put in, to sort of just get the basic shapes where I wanted. And then I used the pointed stump to blend them out. And you see I've got a little dog going in there. At this point, the people do look as though they're sort of floating in midair, and I will resolve that later on, because I haven't thought about painting the foreground at this stage. It really was very responsive on my PC. I have used Art Rage and I've noticed lag when I've used it. Maybe the file sizes might have been a bit bigger. I'm not sure. I should really do a proper test, but I didn't find any lag in this at all. And I really liked the way you could smudge the colours. It was very responsive and it felt very natural, and gave a sort of a very realistic painted effect. Because, as you know, I'm all about trying to paint in a traditional way, but in digital. So this, if you was going to try this, I suggest you do download it and try it, because, you know, I haven't tried everything on this. I haven't tried the pastels. I haven't tried the watercolours. I've just sort of messed about with each of the brushes. I tried all the brushes and thought, that's not very good, that's not very good, that's not very good. But you might think different. So I don't want to knock it. It is £35, and I know that's a lot of money compared to an app on an iPad that you'd pay for, but definitely not a lot of money for PC. But there are free software out there, or software that's just as cheap with a lot more features that could do what this does. But if you're brand new, because it does say it's aiming this bit of software to people that have never tried digital before, it would be a good starting point. I don't think I'll buy it because I already own Art Rage 5, and I think the brushes in Art Rage 5 are a lot better, and you can adjust them and create your own brushes. So I shan't be buying it, but if I didn't own Art Rage, I probably would buy it. And I think it's cool that they've given you a 30-day trial with no restrictions. You get the full set, so you can produce a painting in it, and I guess export that and send it to the printers, or do whatever you want with it. So yeah, I would encourage you to download it. Just sort of working on the people. You notice that character, the one on the left, I've switched him round. I didn't want him walking out of the painting. I wanted him walking into it. I felt if he was walking out, it would sort of lead you out of the painting as well. Now I'm sort of getting in the foreground, and I wanted to sort of create that sort of wet floor. So I'm putting in some sort of very bright, well, not bright, but light creams in there, and then darker colours. So putting in the shadows as well, and then softening them off with that pointed stump. I did like that tool. I thought that was really, really cool. So it is coming together now, and we're not right at the end yet, but we're getting close to the end. You can see I'm sort of putting some highlights in, sort of where there's sparks of light or rays of light sort of bounce off the pavement because it's wet. And then I pick up some of the colour out of the brickwork and pop that into the path or the road, just to sort of tie all of the colours together, sort of making it a harmonious painting, if you like. Get the signature in there. That means I'm close to finishing, but I haven't quite finished it yet. So then I go in, and then I decide I need another darker shadow in there, just to pop that building out a little bit and get the sort of recesses in the doors. And I also, looking at it, I adjust on the shop on the right hand side, the left window is slightly narrower, and I do go in and adjust that. I may have done that after I'd finished this video, because I did go back and tweak it slightly. But anyway, that is pretty much it. I'm coming right to the end now, just putting the final touches in. Thanks for watching this video with me. I hope you've liked it. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. It's always appreciated. It helps me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, because I have lots more videos like this and I would love to be sharing them with you. So take care, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.